everyone, this is Rashi and welcome back to the Reading Platter. So, last month I said that I will be doing something new for wrap up. So, the thing I did for wrap up is I feel doing wrap ups boring and not fun. Talking about 10 to 15 books in one video is very difficult, and at the same time, talking about 15 books, you get short of thoughts, and there are a lot of there is a lot of continuation, and that's why I don't even feel like filming wrap-ups, but I have to, of course. So I did something new. What I did is, when I completed a book that I read, I recorded myself giving the review of that book. First I did that, and it was like 5 minutes per review, 6 minutes per review, and it was very difficult to edit. So I cut them short and did like 2 to 2.5 minutes of review per book. So the video will also not be long, and the review will be good because I will have so much to tell when I complete a book, rather than wrapping it up after like 20 to 25 days of reading it. So I felt it was very easy and also convenient. So I did that. Whenever I completed a book, I reviewed it then and there. And now I have compiled all of those clips, and you will see all of the books that I read in March and what I exactly felt about them. So that will be a good kind of wrap up, and I haven't seen anybody do this kind of wrap up before, so but I'm not claiming this is my own idea because I have no knowledge of anyone doing this, but of course if there is, so yeah, of course, praise to you. Talking about the March stats, I read for 39.5 hours in this month, which was less than February, but I read a total of 2752 pages, which were like 250 pages more than February, and I'm so happy for that. Average pages that I read per day were 89, and average pages I read per hour were 70, which makes 1.25 page per minute, which I was happy. But I did not have good books in March to read. There were only 3 books that I really liked, and most of the books that I did not like were arcs, which I was not expecting, but it's okay. It was not a bad month. I enjoyed reading this month, even if there were a lot of 2 and 3 stars, but I really enjoyed it. So the total books that I read were 10, and there were 2 5 stars, 1 4 star, and 1 2 star, and the rest of them were 3 stars, which was pretty good, which was okay. 3 stars is good, it is okay. So, and I'm happy because I had to read 3,809 pages, and I read 2,752 pages. I did not read 3 books that I really wanted to read. One was an arc, Her Turn, which I was really excited to read but did not got a chance to read. Next was a book that I had to read for the series challenge, which I was unable to read. But I read 2 books from one series, so I will count that as a series challenge because eventually I will be reading the second book of that, and maybe in March I have a second book in the series to read. I don't remember, let me check. No, there's not. So, well, talking about March, we'll talk about that later. So yeah, this were the stats, and I'm okay with it. It was not that bad and not that good, but yeah, moving on to the reviews. Hello guys, to a completely different angle, and today I'm going to review Candid by Santushti Tyagi. So she asked me on Instagram if I will read and review her book. So yeah, I agreed to it. And um, it is a non-fiction book. See, I'm not a big fan of non-fictions and self-help books, but this one was a little different. See, I have mixed feelings about this book, and if we see that it is written by a teenager, she's a teenager, so the thought given into the book is really good according to that. And like I have talked about this in my weekend reading challenge also, which I will be linking above here so you can check. So in this book, she has talked about not about herself, not about you, and not talked as a narrator. So she's created a person, that is Mandy, who is a teenager, and her friends. So what happens is she writes something. I mean, the author Santushti Tyagi, she writes something and then she explains it through a situation. So now what happens is when she writes like if she's telling what a teenager thinks or what a teenager does. So then she talks about the situation, like let me explain it with the situation kind of thing. So while reading this book, I got a vibe of a textbook. So yes, that was one point I did not enjoy it. um it also, after every chapter, it had a question like what do you think about this, like related to the chapter, according to you, to think about yourself, which was clearly a very textbook vibe. So it was like I'm not reading a novel. So talking about good things, I loved how the book was short and no unnecessary things were written. Like non-fiction books are just written to make it long, and it's very irritating at times, but this one was to the point. No extra blabbering was done in this book. I loved that. I loved how it was short. I loved how it had short chapters. And also the illustrations were really really good. And also I loved the cover. The cover is really really beautiful. And yes, I will recommend it. See, if you are a teenager, do read this book. If you're a fan of non-fiction, you will love this book. And if you're not a fan of non-fiction and self-helps like me, you will really enjoy it. And it is a very short read for you to fly through, and you will enjoy the experience reading it. But yes, there are some points, but some points like really I loved how there were punches in between the text, and how that made it not boring. So yeah, like that things too, but it gave me a very textbook vibe. So yeah, that was one point deducted from the review, from the stars. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. You should try it. So, the next book I read was Joker by Elizabeth Woods. It is a mystery thriller short book. I read it for the challenge that I was doing. The link will be up above so you can check it out. And yes, I cut off my nails. So, it was a nice one. It is a story about a girl who is bullied in her new school. So, there's a guy she likes, but the girl who bullies her is the girlfriend of that guy. So yeah, he cannot talk to her. Her name is Kara. So he cannot talk to Kara. That bully girl is really mean, and she has a group, and collectively they bully Kara. Sorry. So there, one day she finds her best friend Zoe sitting on her bed, and she's so excited that she has someone to talk to now, and someone who will help her through the dark times. So yeah, then something bad happens, and she is very concerned if Zoe, I'm really sorry, if Zoe is after that. So yeah, this is a story about finding who is after what happened. So it was interesting. It was a nice plot. It was nicely presented in the first, and the story was developed. Like, it was short, but 3 to 4 chapters were done to develop this story. and I love how the chapters were small, and it was really nice reading it. I really liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it, I enjoyed it. Some parts in the middle were just like, I was just skipping pages at times, but the story was really nice. Like, if I have skipped one or two chapters, the next chapter was really, intriguing, and I was really into that chapter. And from that, I was reading like continuously 3 to 4 chapters. Then again, something happens that was boring, and I was skipping 1 or 2 chapters. So it was nice, the story was nice. I didn't DNF it because I was really liking where the story was going, and the ending was really nice. It was worth it. So yeah, I rated it 3 stars. I will really recommend this to you. So the very first book I read was Turning Point by Jeffrey Deaver. It was an arc that I received from NetGalley, and fan of Jeffrey Deaver. I really love his short stories because they are really really short, and they still are so good and so mysterious, full of twists and turns and cunningness, and which is all I love. So this story is about a serial killer who is committing uh, murders, and there is a team who is finding who he is, and the team finds him. But there is a really really big twist when you get to know who the killer is after that, because I'm not gonna tell you. Short stories like this book is just for 66 pages, and to give a summary of this story is like telling you everything what's happening in the story. So it's very difficult to review a short book, but I really loved it. The beginning was very confusing, so I wasn't catching up to the story. I wasn't involved in the story, but later, when the twists started happening, it was mind blowing. I was like shocked on every twist that was happening, and I was loving it so much, so much. It is a really fast paced book and really interesting, so nicely written, and I really really liked it. I will recommend it to you for sure. I rated it 4. And for what I have read till now, like when I'm reviewing this book, I have read like 6 to 7 books in March, and this is the only 4-star book I have read. Spoiler alert. The rest are not the ones that I have loved, but yeah, it was a good one. I will definitely recommend this. The next book I read was Let's Get Invisible by R.L. Stein. So this is a part of a Goosebumps series. This is the 6th or 7th book in the series, and I have been rereading this series because I have completely forgot what the series have, and I have been loving rereading it. But this book, I don't know. Like, I was giving a 5 stars or 4 stars to every Goosebumps book, but this one was not nice. This followed a story of a boy who discovers a mirror in the attic, and then he discovers that this mirror does some really strange thing, and then he falls uh, like into a very very big problem, and then uh, his brother helps him to get out of that problem. But at the end of the story, there is always a strange thing happening. So um, there is still a bit of suspense at the end of the story, but I did not enjoy it as much as I did the other books. I don't know, like the language was really lame. Secondly, the characters were more lame. Uh, like the books, see, the thought was good. That's why I wanted to give it 2 stars. But um, I enjoyed it. Okay, like I was not feeling the story at all. It was like skipping paragraphs and pages and reading it. But I read it. I didn't DNF it. That's why I gave it a 3 stars, because I actually completed it. And like, there was still not a reason to DNF it. That's why I gave it a 3 star. So yeah, that's all I'll say about this one. So the next book that I read was Tainted Love by Azura Knox and edited by Erica. Yes. So, this is an anthology written by many authors. It was collected by Azura Knox and edited by Erica. And there are multiple authors, of course. So, this anthology is a theme of women in horror. But in this, in all of these stories, like, some of those were very irritating. I could not even finish those. I have just, you know, pushed myself to read those, because I really was not interested in any of that crap. But still, I read it. I won't be naming each of them. There are 14 stories. And I mean, I don't know how to, review this, because this was women in horror, but most of the crimes were done by men. So I don't know how this was women in horror. Maybe it was like, will you accept this man for who he is after you know what he's done? Like, that's not women in horror, okay? That's always women in compromise, okay? And I don't know how to review it. I rated it 3 because some of the stories were really nice, some of them were really irritating, and one or two maybe I have skipped, or no, I don't even remember. I i'm this was my first anthology, and the experience was not that good. I didn't expect this, because the cover is really nice, and the first story was good. That's why I kept on reading that. Second or third story was so bad that I felt like DNFing it. But I didn't. I read like maybe 14, I read maybe 12, I don't know, but whatever I read, 70% was so bad. So bad. Like, I was not expecting this bad from short stories. Like, what can you expect from a 10-page story? But yeah, it can be really, really bad. So yeah, I gave it a 3 stars. This was because of one or two stories that I really, really liked. So yeah. The next read is the most disappointing read of the month of March. I had so much high expectations from this book, because the title itself says The Mysterious Disappearance of Aiden S. And in brackets, it is written as told to his brother. This book is written by David Levithan. I've heard a lot of good things about David, but this book was not a good one. Like, especially for me, I had so much expectations, because the thing written in the bracket got me, and I really wanted to know what that's about. Like, those bracket things was so unnecessary. I was so irritated after knowing what the story is about, and the bracket thing, like, that was the main reason I picked this book for. And there's nothing suspense in it, like, as told to his brother. So actually, the story is about a boy who mysteriously disappears and then mysteriously appears. So everyone asks if he was kidnapped or something, but he sticks to one story. No one believes him, but his brother does. And the ending is lame. See, I I'm so pissed at this bracket thing, I cannot stop talking about that. It says as told to his brother. Like, how does it matter only his brother was the one who believed it. I was so disappointed. I really wanted to love it. The starting was good, but when you get to know the story the boy Aiden is sticking with about his disappearance, after that it's just, parents shouting at each other, children shouting at their parents, parents shouting at their children about why they are lying, and Aiden trying to convince that this is the correct story, and his brother being the one supporting him. So I I don't know. It was just screaming, shouting sentences, and nothing else, nothing story. The ending was so lame. It was so much expected. The ending from a middle grade mystery, like, like it was a book for second graders, not for me. And I don't think second graders would like that too. So, yeah, gave it a 2 stars. Not happy at all. Very disappointed. So the next book that I read was Meet Cute by Helena Hunting. It is a contemporary romance and I read it in one sitting only. It was such a great book. Like March being not a good reading month, like this was the best book I guess I read till now, like at the time I am filming this review. So it was a full 5-star read and I loved the story so much. It was such a cute story and it was not cliche. uh, yes, it wasn't like, okay, every romance book is like same, like first they don't like each other but then they start loving, like hate to love romance. But in this one they were rivals but friends too, and then they fell in love but again they faced problems. So it is the story if they actually like were together at the end or not. It was really good. It was also, thrilling at times. I love the plot so much and I enjoyed the book very much and it is highly recommended. I really like it was. I was the happiest person reading this book because after reading so many 2 and 3 star books, this was the first 5-star book of the month. So, yes, of course, I will love it more than if I would have read it with other 5-star reads. Of course, if I would have had more 4 stars or 5 stars, then maybe I would have rated it 3.5 or 4. But yes, it is a nice book. I really liked it. It was fun. I read it in just one day. It was really refreshing and fun. I will really recommend this to you. The next book that I completed, not completed, but DNF'd, was Say You Love Me by E.R. White. It was an arc that I received from NetGalley, and I was excited to read it after reading the blurb of the book, but I didn't like it. Like at the very beginning, like the very first chapter was filled with so much adult content. But it was fine. It was really rated as adult romance book. So not mad at it, but wasn't expecting like the first chapter to be that. So as I read it further, like I was interested to know what was the thrilling part in this book. Like the genre was um, romance and thriller. So I really wanted to know what the thriller in the book was. So I read it, but I wasn't enjoying it. I gave a break to the book. Um, I started it like after a 2 to 3 days break, and I'm not happy about it. I tried to read it, like so many things were like unnecessary. I felt like I'm not like expert in writing books or even reviewing too. But as a reader, like first I felt that maybe this book has potential. I also talked about this in my vlog and in my TBR too. I thought it had potential, But after like completing 50 to 60% of the book, I was like literally bored. Like, okay, it was nice reading it. It was nice story. Like it was developing very slow. Secondly, it was developing more on the adult side, like very much adult side, like stripping and adult romance. And I really don't know if I enjoyed this, but yes, like at times I felt that it had potential. So I rated it a 3 stars. Did not complete it. Read like 70 to 75% of the book. I don't even remember how much I read it, but yes, I was kind of disappointed, maybe because this was not a good reading month. But still, even if it had been a good reading month, I would have DNF'd it because it was not my type of romance, like not my type of thriller too. Um, like one character was shown very nice, and then in the very next chapter it was shown like not good, and bullying, and not bullying, but passing unnecessary comments. So it was not my type of romance. I was like literally bored after 50 to 60% of reading it. So yeah, rated it a 3 stars, and this was it. Just had a little facial and I'm feeling very refreshed. So, the next book that I read was The Rise of Zombies by Tracy Baptist, and this is a middle grade thriller, mystery, adventure, fiction, and this is the second book in the Zombie series. The first book I loved the first book. I rated the first book 5 stars. I rated this one 4 stars because at times in between it was getting a little boring and I wasn't getting where the plot was going. I wasn't understanding the new characters, and it was really confusing at times. So that made me lose a little interest. But then afterwards, it got completely fun and interesting and adventurous again, and it was like zombies all over again. It was fun again. So yeah, like after 50% of the book, it was like 40 to 60% of the book was very boring. But after 60%, like first 40% was interesting, and after 60%, the book was really interesting. I really loved it. I want to read. I guess there is also one more book in the series, and I'm really excited to read that book. But maybe I'll give this a rest because the boring part, that 40 to 60%, that middle part was really, that part really made me think that do I really want to read the third book? Like, do I really want to continue the series? But this book was really nice. I would really recommend this to all of you. And yes, I really enjoyed this one. I'm happy that in the month of 2 and 3 star books, this was one of the 4 stars, and I'm really happy with the book and the story. So, the final book that I read was The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams, and I cannot tell you how much I loved this book. This is a contemporary romance. The story follows a famous baseball player who is getting a divorce, but his book club is like his club, his friends are helping him to not get a divorce. So the story is about, and it is super duper hit. And the ending, oh my god, oh my god, thank god I read this book. This was my last book for the month that I read, and March being not a good month of reading, like it was a good month, but most of the books were 3 stars. And this was the first and only 5+ read. So now I have the best book of the month. Yes, the best book of the month, the Bromance Book Club. And I'm looking forward to read more from the author and continue the series, of course. I really enjoyed this book so much. It was really fun. It was so beautiful. I read it in like one day. I was so excited after so many 3 stars and disappointing reads. This was the second book I was very much excited for, and the previous book, Meet Cute, yeah, yes, Meet Cute, was also very, very good. But this was beyond 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It was so much fun reading it. It was so nice. I cannot believe it. It was a beautiful contemporary romance. There was no cliche, okay? It was kind of a hate to love story, and I really enjoyed it. It was so nice. I read it in one day. It brought a smile on my face, and I'm still smiling. And I really, really loved it. I will definitely recommend this. So, the best book for the month was The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. And the worst, I won't say worst, but the most disappointing book. Like, I expected so much from this book. The Mysterious Disappearance of Aiden S. by David Levithan. I expected so much from the book. I really wanted to love it, but I was so disappointed. I think it was the only 2-star read of the month. And I have heard so much good things about David Levithan. I will read more of his work because uh, like, I have heard a lot of good things about the author, so I don't want to give up on his writing or something. So I'll read more books. But yeah, this one arc was the disappointing book. I won't say worst. It wasn't worst, but yes, disappointing, of course. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this way of wrapping up every month, then do let me know in the comment section down below. Or I should do a complete sit down video of wrapping up 15 to like 12 to 15 books in one go. So do let me know which was convenient way. I think this one is way more convenient for me. Do let me know what you prefer, and we'll meet in the next one.